Hello, everybody. Welcome to the North Coast podcast. We are North Coast, a hip-hop improv comedy team from New York City. On this podcast, we interview some of our favorite people, creators, musicians, just like humans in the world, and talk to them, get to know them, and improvise songs. And we also have some other episodes where we do our classic improv into rap song structure. Let's get this thing started. My name is Mel Rubin.
I'm Ralph, Jean-Pierre, a.k.a. Precious Gorgeous.
I'm Stephanie Ray.
I'm Dr. Brick.
And today, oh my gosh, I am so excited. On the podcast, we have Sasha Gutiérrez. She is the founder of the Opera Next Door, this amazing organization, company, musical collective that started during COVID. We're so excited. I'll let Sasha explain it. I don't need to explain what it is. But Sasha, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me today. It's an honor to be here and share a little bit of my world and, see our worlds collide.
Yes. I also didn't mention you're also an opera singer, so a performer, you get it.
Yeah.
I am an opera singer, and one of the reasons this happened was because I wanted to sing.
Yeah.
So,
The reasons you started Opera Next Door? Is that
the Opera Next Door?
The Opera Next Door. The Opera Next Door was born because we were trapped during COVID.
Yeah.
Theaters closed, and one of the crazy ideas we had was after a summer of singing outdoors, suddenly we had an idea.
You guys were doing a lot of singing outdoors during?
Yeah. All of this happened like that.
Just like impromptu, you and your friends would get together and go sing. And you organized this? Were you the one who was like, let's go do this? Or did it just happen spontaneously? Or
there's a lot of things that I can get into, but yes, I was organizing these concerts. My partner, he's a drummer, jazz percussionist, Afro-Latin, all of that. And I'm an opera singer. So pretty much we're on opposite sides of the spectrum in music.
Okay.
But one of the things that we were doing was that after lockdown passed and people said, hey, you can meet up your friends, but do it outdoors.
Yeah.
We had an idea how about we just practice outdoors? And he gathered some of his friends, and I told him, well, if you guys are gonna go and jam outside, I'm gonna come out and sing.
Yeah. And that's how it was born.
And that's the first step we thing that happened to make all of this happen.
That's one of the most New York things I've ever heard.
I literally had the exact same thing happen, not opera, but on my block during COVID. I'd say probably 2 months after lockdown, as soon as people were allowed outside, once we learned that the outdoors were safe, my neighbor across the street, I didn't know any of my neighbors outside of the one who lived in my building. My whole block, nobody knew each other. And my neighbor who lived across the street, her name was Cody. She was a violin player and also a singer. And she one Friday night just went out and started playing the violin, had a microphone, played the violin, and just sang. And people just I heard it out of my window, and I went outside and I was like, what is this? And got to meet a few of my neighbors that night, and it was very small. And by the end, it lasted for a year and a half every Friday night. Yeah. By the end of it, it was 300 people would come out every night and watch. It was
that's
Stoop Music Brooklyn. So it was and it was happening everywhere. So I know you got written up about, and people were taking notice.
I mean, this was a surprise to us. But what was funny to us was that I had a lot of neighbors that came up to me after they saw me sing the first time and said, oh my God, I finally can see, put a face to the voice, because I would practice indoors. I would practice in the apartment. And I feel like people haven't had the chance to see opera performers live as close. People are not exposed to it, or they are intimidated by the art form. And it's very important. This is one of the things why I started doing it, was because I could tell people are receptive to this art, but they do not understand it. And that's one of the things that I'm so passionate about, and sharing it brings me so much joy. And seeing people feel like, oh my God, I can get into this. It makes me even happier, because, I love this. I love what I do. I love to share it. I want to continue doing it.
Yeah.
How did you find your way to opera? Was it something you were raised with, or did you discover that you could sing and that led you to opera? How did that happen?
The second one is more like it happened. I just kind of like would sing, I don't know, Disney songs. Normal childhood. None of my parents were into opera, but they both were into music, different sorts. My dad is a rock and roll dad. I don't know, his favorite band is Supertramp.
Okay.
Yeah. And my mom is like kind of like the same but opposite in like she used to be a cello player, but she never really became a full-time musician. She learned the instrument, and she would listen to the Beatles and Colombian stuff. I mean, I'm from Colombia, by the way. Yeah, that's very important to mention.
Yes.
I'm one of those made New Yorkers, right? Yeah. Not made in New York. But
so you're born in Colombia.
Yeah, I'm Colombian.
Yeah.
I came here to do my master's, right, and graduated right before COVID. It's been a wild ride.
Wow.
So you weren't in New York very long before COVID hit, or it was just for school?
I had been there in New York for 2 years, the 2 years of master's.
Yeah.
And you got your master's in opera?
Yes. So I got my master's in classical voice in Manhattan School of Music.
Nice.
I graduated 2019, and 6 months later, world turned upside down. And this is also a reason I started doing, try to find ways to create. It was because back then I was still in what we call like our OPT. So it's for international students. The only way you can stick around is if you work in what you do. And guess what? The theaters closed, everything closed, everything got canceled. I was panicking. I didn't know what to do because I didn't want to get kicked out yet.
Yeah.
I felt like I haven't been here enough.
So it was like your responsibility to make a job for yourself in your art form so you could stay.
Myself and a lot of my colleagues that were in the same
boat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, this motivated us to do a bunch of things because, believe it or not, Colombians here. Shout out to Colombians because we have a lot of talent out there. I'm telling you.
Shout out.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of friends who are also opera singers, Colombian opera singers, that have been, we came in the same few years together to do our, continue our studies. And I mean, we've built this beautiful family of people who support each other, and that's that's one of the beauties of this art form also, and all art in general.
Yeah, you build a little family.
I have more questions about how you got into opera. Was this a class that you took at school? Had you heard the music and you were just like, I want to try that? And also, was it love at first note, or was there a moment in which you were like, yeah, this is my thing?
I started singing opera because I got into a youth choir that got called to do the choir parts for, let's say, a university's production. So they got the youth choir to just learn the choir parts. So we did the famous opera scenes. I don't know, like the Traviata. So the Brindisi is one of the most famous parts. Liviamo nell'etica. I know.
I heard that in the cartoon.
So we would do like little things here and there, and it was not love at first note. It's a very interesting path. I feel that basically my voice took me that way. One time we were singing one of these choirs, and someone who was next to me, another singer, she looked at me and said, "Wow, you can really sing this."
Wow, you can really sing this. She said, wow, you can really sing this. She said, wow, you can really sing this. You can really sing this. You can really sing this. Go, Sasha. She said, whoa. She said, wow. She said, you're hitting the notes right out of town. She said, damn. She said, bye. She said, girl, why you singing so high? She said, I could tell that you are gonna be an opera singer. I could tell that in the city you are gonna linger, cause you're gonna make a job for yourself, and everybody else is gonna be singing Adele. Damn, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. You can really sing this. You can really sing this.
It was the notes. It was the flourish. Oh man, it was the purest. With a sound booming out of mouth. It goes all around. It lit up the town. It was the melody. It was so heavenly. Oh man, open up. How it get to me? I was standing next to her in the choir. I was like, girl, you is on fire.
She said, wow, you can really sing this. She said, wow, you can really sing this. She said, wow, you can really sing this. You can really sing this. You can really sing this.
I don't do hip hop or rock and roll. I might be young, but I got an old soul. I'm in a choir, I am a teen, but I'm breaking out with a brand new scene. I'm gonna sing opera, I'm gonna sing notes. I'm gonna sing it all and it's gonna be dope. I'm gonna sing in languages you don't know. I'm gonna sing with that opera flow. Wow, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. You can really sing this. You can really
to her
sing
sing it. Listen to her sing it. Ooh, listen to her sing it. Listen to her sing it. Listen to her sing it.
Oh, del mio dolce ardor, bramato getto, bramato getto, l'ora che tu respiri.
Oh shit! Wow, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. Wow, you can really sing this. You can really sing this. You can really sing this. Yes.
So what I just heard is that in addition to a beatboxer, we now need an opera singer. Because that sounded really good.
Yeah.
That was so dope.
Or I can
sounded
just
really
leave.
good.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of the North Coast Podcast. We wanted to pause here to let you know that we have an exclusive Patreon where you can access bonus content, freestyle tips, and a Discord channel only for our patrons where you can submit interview questions, ask freestyle tips directly from the team, and request guests. So head on over to patreon.com/northcoastpodcast and subscribe for as low as $1 a month. And now, back to the podcast.
I want to share a little story about my school years.
Yeah.
So we did not get a lot into, let's say, rapping or hip hop back home. Well, at least not my friends. But we would kid around with saying that opera could be reggaeton, which is our version, or it has roots somewhere.
Hip hop, yeah,
It's close, and we would. Just be in the cafeteria and start like playing on the tables and sing opera with a beat.
Oh, wow.
Just for the laughs.
Yeah.
And this was one of the popular ones we would choose back then.
Wow.
Like, we could do reggaeton opera, one day.
Wow.
So you guys.
That's gonna be the next phase.
That's the next phase of North Coast. We all have to learn how to sing operatic.
Oh my goodness.
They thought it was crazy when rock and country got together.
No,
Look out for hip hop, improv, and opera,
Opera.
baby. Oh my gosh.
I have kind of a noob question. Is opera always in Italian?
Ooh, I love this question. The answer is no.
Oh.
There's opera in so many languages. Italian is kind of like the crib? I guess that's the word, la cuna, where it was born. But there's opera in Italian, in French, in German, in English, in Spanish, nowadays people are composing operas in native languages.
Yeah.
So opera can be anything. It can be about anything. It can use so many different elements. It's just a genre that people associate to Italian.
Yeah.
But I feel personally, this is my personal thought on it, is that opera it's no longer just Italian. It just belongs to everyone.
Yeah.
What makes a piece of music opera or not? Is there like very hard and fast rules, or is it sort of like a hazy boundary?
My thoughts on this is that definitely you require people who are trained classically. It's a style of singing, because if I start changing styles, I just go. I'm basically doing musical theater, So and yes, there's like some structures, but these are not set on stone. Like opera has also evolved throughout the years. For example, operas tend to have a lot what we call recitativi, which is like the spoken parts, but they are accompanied. Then there's the aria, where the person, let's say main character sings their heart out. But and the choir parts. But none of this is strictly what makes opera opera. I feel it has a lot to do with putting together all of this in the context of telling a story. And it has to have the style of singing for it to be called opera. And for example, this is one that I love to say. Phantom of the Opera is not an opera, people.
It's a musical.
It's a musical.
I've been telling people it's my favorite opera.
This is one I get all the time. It's
Yeah.
like, I saw Phantom of the Opera. I loved it. I'm like, good for you. It's not an opera.
So I have a question. So in making, doing like the Stoop version of what you do with the opera next door, is there anything, like obviously the core like opera rules have to apply, but is there anything you do to sort of change it to make it like stupefied, like whether it's wardrobe, whether it's the songs, whether it's like the acting, like how do you switch it?
So I'm going to tell you about our first production, because this was when we had the chance to kind of like experiment with a lot of things.
Yeah.
Just because we were in different conditions in a non-traditional space, which means not inside a theater. One of the things we did was that we tried to accommodate the story to Brooklyn. So our inspiration was Brooklyn. Our inspiration was all about, for example, the translations. Even though we were singing in Italian, we created translations that would reference things that were New York or Brooklyn. Ooh. And made references that back then people would understand them, but nowadays this audience is, it's no longer from 1600s. This audience is today. So what is the equivalent of that, let's say, joke today?
Yeah.
So they would say, for example, you are the women are my woman, sorry, is as rare as the phoenix. Everyone has heard about it, but no one has seen it. And we were like, well, what can work with this? And this was not my joke, you guys, because I'm a relatively new New Yorker, but very proud to be, and especially Brooklynite. But the joke for this, our translation said like, my woman is like the Z train. Oh. Everyone has heard about it, but not a lot of you have seen it.
So wait, okay, two questions. Opera, is there any spoken dialogue in the show, or is it all sung?
So this is what I was talking about, like in structure-wise, and this is for classical opera, because there's a romantic opera, there's modern, contemporary. So classical, Mozart. So this was Mozart. We would do recitativi. Recitativi means to recite.
Like recite.
Recite. Recite? Maybe.
Yeah.
To recite.
Sure. I love it.
Yeah. So it's recited because you are using your singing voice, but you are speaking the dialogue.
Got it. Okay.
So we do not, and there's other operas, for example, in German opera, there's a thing called Singspiel. Singspiel has spoken dialogue, and then they sing in German.
Okay.
And another famous opera by Mozart, and you guys probably, you probably have heard of this, The Magic Flute.
Yeah, I know The Magic Flute.
The Magic Flute, it's a Singspiel, and it's another subgenre of opera because it has spoken dialogue.
Does the spoken dialogue, is it sometimes not in the same language as the songs, or is it always all in the same language?
So nowadays, what people are doing, for example, if I was going to show you guys Singspiel, I would just translate to English. And a lot of companies do this now, just because it's easier. You guys don't have to learn German to come and enjoy the opera.
We don't have to read like a booklet while we're like, reading it.
What's going on?
What I'm curious about, do they in opera school, how much, or in opera in general, how much focus is there on the acting part? And this is a two-part question. How much focus is there on on opera as like a recorded medium, that like meaning just audio recording as opposed to like a live
performance,
theatrical medium?
That's a great question. So let me answer the first one.
Please.
Theatrically, yes, there's work put into it. But it all depends on what school you go to and what resources you have and what teachers you have. One of the big reasons I came to the United States to pursue my master's was because I used all my resources back home and needed more, and came here looking for more knowledge. And for example, one class I loved was called Stagecraft, and they teach you how to walk on stage. They teach you how to look around, how to, move around the stage in a way that is not your just come and walk around the street. So yes, we would get some sort of instruction. We would also have acting class, but never to the level to where real actors take it. So it's something that complements what we do. But I mean, not every opera singer is a great actor and also there's actors that are not great singers. You know what I mean? Yeah. But every once in a while.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Ralph is great at all of them.
Go ahead.
And your second question about if we get any sort of training when it comes to recording, recording, and my answer is barely, not really. We focus so much about our actual work happening in that moment. And the recording part, we don't worry too much about it because if, for example, I go to a studio to record, which is part of our audition process in general, we have to record auditions. I just book a studio, show up and sing, and I let them do the magic.
Yeah. I feel like opera, of course it's recorded and there's brilliant opera singers who obviously you can listen to, but to me, the word opera, I don't even think of it as a genre of music. I think of it as the experience of being in a theater, watching an opera. And that's why I think what you do is so cool, because you're literally bringing that experience to people's front steps, which is even more immersive than it already is.
I want to hear the rest of the story of where the opera next, am I saying that? The opera next door. So it began in the pandemic. You guys gathered to sing, and then what happened from there? Where has it gone? And where is it now?
So what happened was that after we had the Stoop concerts during the summer of 2020, we were sitting on the Stoop. This is funny, is because everything, the Stoop has meant a lot of things in my life, you guys. I love that. We were sitting on the Stoop with a friend of ours, my partner and I.
Hold on, before you say this, how many shows did you guys do, and what kind of crowds did you get during the pandemic?
During the pandemic, so the Stoop concerts, we did close to 13 concerts, and guys, I don't know how many people. Some days we got 100, other days we had 20. It really depended.
20 is great. Yeah. Okay.
So we were sitting on the Stoop, and this friend who saw all the Stoop concerts happen was like, "You guys hey Sasha, haven't you thought about staging an opera on the Stoop?" And this kind of
is this the same friend who said, "Wow, you could really sing, girl"? Yeah, same friend. No, not
the same friend.
Good yes and.
No, not the same friend.
Come on, improv. No. Okay.
But he said this, and I feel like in my life story one day, if I write a book or something, I'm gonna say this is where my life kind of just there's a before and after.
Yeah.
From this question. Because this question made everything in my head kind of explode in how can I make that happen?
Wow.
Because I had never, so this is something that they do not teach you in school. We don't get taught how to produce or how to put together anything. We just are taught how to stand and look well while we sing well. Which no, I'm not mocking it, but there's a lack in our education, in my opinion, when it comes to creating artists that are self-sufficient and that don't depend on the industry to take over them to let me make you a star, because there's too many of us and very little out there for all of us. So you gotta sometimes step out of the box. So I did not have this training, but I feel like maybe I don't know, maybe I was a good observer or whatever, because I was in productions in school and I would see, let's say, how they would send the schedule for the day. What's my rehearsal schedule looking like? So I went into my emails, looked for my schedules from back in school, and I kind of like just dissected everything. What is the process I did in order to make this happen? And after that, we kind of like, it was more like I called my friends who were in the city and also people who were not in the city. And I told them, hey, I have a crazy idea. I'm thinking of, doing an opera on the Stoop. I don't know how, but do you have any plans for the next year? And everyone was like, we have nothing. Yes, I'm in. All my friends, of course, I had a few no's because they were, like, oh, COVID, and I get it, but I was full of motivation, and something in me told me, like, go for it. Yeah. And I was panicking so many times. You guys, I went through all stages of emotion.
We staging on the Stoop. 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 One day my friend threw me an alley-oop. He said, forget tradition. Tradition's flown the coop. Gather up our friends. We gonna form a troupe. I think you should stage a show right on the Stoop. We'll go outside. We'll get together. We'll check the neighborhood. We'll check the weather. They never heard this kind of music. It gets better. We're gonna stage a show on the Stoop. We staging 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 on the Stoop.
Let me tell a story to all of y'all. Made them say, opera. Yeah, we gonna go ahead, bring out the troops. We stage in the opera on the Stoop. They said we can't do it, no kid. They say watch out, little one is COVID. I said don't worry about that, got the cure. I'm gonna bring the Stoop opera, it's gonna be pure.
We staging on the Stoop. We staging on the Stoop.
On the Stoop.
We staging on the Stoop.
On the Stoop.
We staging on the Stoop. It's a classical form, but we're gonna give it edge. Let me go back to my school where I used to have a schedule and go through my old notes and my scheduling tools, and we could stage an opera right here for all of these Brooklyn fools. They come into Bed-Stuy, we look them in the eye. We say we gonna sing for you. They say me, oh my. They wanna learn Italian. Now suddenly there's pizza pies everywhere. They are flying. Man, this is freaking crazy. We staging on the Stoop.
On the Stoop.
We staging on the Stoop.
On the Stoop.
Yeah, we staging on the Stoop.
On the Stoop.
We staging on the Stoop.
Oh, you guys are incredible. You're making my dream come true, but at the same time, I do not dare improvise more than that. Not really.
That's great.
I think that came to my mind because I was like, this is really like I wonder what the background is and what I'd like to learn about this in the history of opera, because I know in hip hop there's like, or in popular music I guess in America, there's a big like the struggle for independence and like you have this big infrastructure, or in theater too, you have this big infrastructure, and it's like, well, your job is to just show up and look pretty and sing or whatever, and then versus like, no, I can do this, I see what the moving parts are, I can do my own maybe it'll be a smaller version, but I can grow it into whatever size I want it to be. I can just take the initiative and maybe take the risk and build it up myself. And that's really cool that you just came out of school and you're like, I mean, you were greatness was thrust upon you, but like, or maybe greatness was always in you, and it took this to bring it out.
I tell people that I accidentally created an opera company because it was never the goal. Yeah. It was never the goal to make something more than just that one performance. Mm-hmm. But our shows we're, you know, created a big impact in at least my community. I could see my neighbors like just being so excited about it. I met people I had never met. Like we create a community, and this is why we, you know, I call this your friendly neighborly opera company, because I want to create community through this art form. And it's very important to me to see this happen in different contexts that are not only where I'm in, but other places. And this is why I want to take it as far as and wide as possible.
Yeah. When I think opera, I still tend to think old white Europeans. And so I'm curious, how has your cultural heritage impacted your experience being in America, doing opera, and being who you are?
I love this question, is because before I moved here, it wasn't that I was not close to my roots, but I was not as curious about them. Because I was back home, you know, I was in Colombia. I was just surrounded by my culture, not questioning it a lot. And I mean, we have a very different, you know, it's a very different context. But when I came here, I realized, oh my God, my country is colorful, rich, full of beautiful stories, and that is something that I'm very thankful for, the experience of moving here. And it is very, you know, it brings something to what I do, because, for example, I'm more curious about singing in my language. I'm more curious about, okay, how can I tweak things here and there, especially this is music that has been composed by composers who are long gone. Like I'm not gonna get any and no one's gonna sue me, I think. If I play a little bit with I don't know, any type of music that the composer has already, you know, gone through that part where it's public domain, so I can play with it. And it gives me, you know, I think opera, to me, it's like a telenovela. You know, a soap opera. Is that why it's called soap opera?
Have we landed on something?
I've never understood this translation.
Whoa.
Why soap and opera? I mean, because opera is a telenovela, I can understand that.
Maybe because opera is like so. Okay, I got it. It's because it's like so dramatic in like a enjoyable way, but like people go to the opera because they're like, it's drama, it's like intense, right? And soap operas, it's like, what if you take this intensity and you throw some bubbles on it? You know what I'm saying? Now suddenly it's like, because soap operas are so dramatic, but they're like too dramatic, where it's like somebody threw some bubbles on this.
Everybody's
You know
real
what I mean?
pretty and lit.
Yes, that's the bubbles. That's the bubbles.
I always imagine it's like a housewife washing dishes, you know?
Exactly.
And
Every
with
soap
a little
opera.
TV next, like, oh,
Yeah.
ay, no, Fernando. I don't know.
I don't know if this is going to be a big disaster or not, but I want to try it. I wonder if there is an opera, could be a piece of Colombian opera or just a piece that you know really well, that you might sing an excerpt of it, and then maybe Dr. Brick might join you with a beat, and then maybe, especially if you can tell us what the story is, maybe we might be able to like
translate
translate a story via rap. This is a lot of moving parts, but maybe that can work, or maybe it'll go terribly.
You might have to use stagecraft for us and act out what you're singing.
You can just tell us and then start singing it, or whatever you want to do.
Maybe have to cut the rest of this.
That's great.
If this episode ends now, you'll know that this was a disaster.
If it's terrible, it's just a game of translator.
But yeah, maybe it's a small piece of a story you could tell us, and then
Well,
sing the part.
Last year I actually collaborated with a very good friend of mine. Shout out Daniela Serna, because she will get this. We said, how about cumbia, which is a genre in our country and in our culture. What about cumbia and opera? And so we actually collaborated. She's a percussionist. She plays an instrument called tambor alegre.
Ooh.
It's very traditional in Colombian music, specifically cumbia. She's fabulous, you guys. The point is, we did this song called Yo me llamo Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. And it's cumbia being described as a woman. a woman who everyone is at her feet. The song, if I can translate a little bit, and it says, "My name is Cumbia. I am the queen wherever I go. There's no hips that stay put when I'm around." I'm forgetting the rest of the lyrics.
You can make it up. In this space, you can make up whatever you want.
Nobody's going to translate this.
Not for my Colombians. No.
So far, you're explaining stuff. So
my skin is so morena is like it's a dark color, like the skins of the drums.
Ooh.
And inside my throat there's a flute created by God.
Wow. Whoa. Okay, I love all of
Magical.
this. A magical flute.
It's magical realism, guys.
Yeah.
Magical.
Oh my God.
All right. Would you possibly be able to sing a little bit of it for us?
I got to sit up.
Yeah.
Maybe if I can have a beat, but not like a.
What are you looking for?
What would Daniela do?
Yeah.
We can do that one, yeah. Yo me llamo Cumbia, yo soy la reina por donde voy. No hay una cadera que se esté quieta cuando yo estoy. Mi piel es morena como los cueros de mi tambor. Y llevo con las estrellas toda mi voz. Y enredo en la luna con las estrellas toda mi voz.
My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. Yeah, Cumbia is a woman. Look at that bod. Cumbia's got a flute in her throat, brought by God. Yes, Cumbia, you're like Lizzo, but better. I love Cumbia in any kind of summer weather. It is true, she's a lady. All the hips be moving toward her. She is a beautiful woman. Look for her. Everywhere she is everywhere you'll be. I love Cumbia just as much as I love me. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia.
Hey. Speech. You hear the music, your hips get to grooving, yeah. You know my name, yeah. My name is Cumbia. I'm so beautiful that you get flustered. You can trust me, yeah. You can trust her. I look into the magic mirror and I know that no one else could be clearer. I'm more beautiful than the moon and the stars. Listen to me and I will take you far.
My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia.
Cumbia, oh what a do to ya. It's Moreno, maybe even Nubian. Is it new to ya? Oh, it is true to ya. Oh yeah, it's classical like Juilliard or Manhattan School of Musical. Oh, it's a musical. Oh, it's a groove to ya. Oh, see it go through all ya. Oh yeah, you see it. It is Cumbia. Cumbia.
My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia.
I let the flute play.
Coming.
Here she comes. Cumbia.
Cumbia. Llevo en la garganta una fina flauta que Dios me dio. Canto de millo ebrio de tabaco, aguardiente y ron. Tomo mi mochila, enciendo la vela, repico el son y enredo en la luna con las estrellas toda mi voz. Y enredo en la luna con las estrellas toda mi voz. vamos. Yo nací en las bellas playas caribes de mi país. Soy barranquillera, cartagenera, yo soy de allí. Soy de Santa Marta, soy monteriana, pero eso sí, yo soy colombiana, oh tierra hermosa donde nací. Yo soy colombiana, oh tierra hermosa donde nací.
Cumbia, my name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. My name is Cumbia. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much to Sasha Gutiérrez. Sasha, where can people find your concerts? I know summer is here, so where can we see you?
Okay, so follow us at The Opera Next Door on Instagram, Facebook. Yes. You can Google us. We are sharing all our information about our upcoming concerts and big production for this year on our social media. You can also, get that newsletter, so sign up for that if you're interested. And yeah, so careful because Stoop concerts are coming. We have 4 concerts coming in July. July 1st is the first one. And, just go on social media and keep an eye on the other ones. And also, we have a very exciting opera this year. We're doing a tango version of Carmen. Ooh. So please stay tuned for that. Yes. It's coming to you in September, Brooklyn and Manhattan. So yeah, I can't wait to see all of you guys over there.
And if you get in contact with the Opera Next Door, they have fiscal sponsorship. So if you're a lover of the arts and of opera or culture in New York and you are in a position to support in a big or small way, please get in contact with Next Door.
Yeah. Yes, please support us, support the arts. Also, this project is made with so much love, you guys. And we want to make opera not only accessible, but we want to create community through it. And I'm sure that with your help, we can make that happen.
Yes, awesome. All right, go follow Sasha and the Opera Next Door and go help them out. We can't wait to see your next show. Yeah. This has been the North Coast Podcast. Give us a follow and a subscription on wherever you get your podcast. And become a patron on Patreon if you're able to. We do fun content for you.
Like this one.
Like this.
Yeah. All right.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Cumbia.